Welcome and thank you for joining me on this very, very serendipitous day. It is the longest night of the year, the shortest day of the year. That makes today Yule. And we'll get into a little bit why this is a fantastic day for me and what this longest stretch of darkness really offers me and really offers all of us, but I love to indulge it. But thank you for being here. I want you to know I am filled with emotions right now. I'm so excited. I have a lot of anticipation. I've got a lot of thrill. I've got a lot of fear. I've got a lot of worry. It just feels like there are all these bubbles just fizzling up through my body, and some of them are going to erupt into something amazing in this next 20 minutes or so. And then other things may just dissolve and fizzle out. We're going to see where that goes. But today, more than anything, is a welcome. And what is it a welcome to? It is a welcome to something that has been brewing for literally 6 years now. Well, longer than that, but for 6 years, this has been in the works. And this has been my desire to share aspects of my life, but also aspects of living in the world that would be fairly alternative, non-traditional. My life, for the most part, has been a very alternative kind of life. I live by a whole different set of belief structures, soul direction, alignments, a lot of ways to put that, than I know a lot of other people in the world. And it has been requested to share my life, and that finally has caught up with my inner desire to share more of my world. Right here on this YouTube channel, on this podcast, we're going to see what it is still. I don't even know yet. So, without really waiting any longer, I welcome you to Thomas Radke's An Altered Life. And it's an altered life because it is an alternative type of life, but it's also a life that belongs on an altar. And all of our lives belong on an altar. All of them need honoring. All of them are sacred. And sometimes we forget that. Sometimes we live that fully. And that's what this space is for, is to get to share elements and pieces of my life with you. And in a very broad kind of way, I would say. It has been brewing for any number of years because I couldn't hone it into just one niche. I couldn't say, oh, this is all going to be about movement or physical expression or dance or somatics, or maybe it's all about food and health and cleansing, or maybe it's all about human potential and coaching and working through hacks, if you will, but also how we process our brilliance as well as our traumas. All of these things are going to apply here. And it finally all settled into just, here's my life. So thank you for listening. In that, this keeps coming up right away, is this is really a place to share. I think an underlining desire for me is I do love to teach. I do love to share. And for the human growth process, right, even the waking up process, there's quite a bit of unlearning that needs to happen. There's a huge amount of letting go of our programs and the way that we were raised, the way we were taught in our formative years, and really beginning to recognize how much is still woven into the way we live and the way we often habitually live. And hopefully, even by sharing this, I'm going to learn more about it myself. In that, this is not something where I'm going to teach you in a true or false, a right or a wrong, or a dualistic kind of way. This is a place really to start a conversation. In that, if I start bringing up stuff that you either strongly agree with or strongly disagree with, I welcome you to bring the context, the learning, the subject matter. There's not a lot of room to fight me, but there is a lot of room to bring different ideas. I really hope to inspire conversation, especially conversation on the topics that we really hear are polarized or in a dual state of this side or this side, and that we can all begin to grow and open up into a different type of potential, that we can open up by growing our perspectives, by rewriting a story. And I say this because recently I did read a book on I wanted to give you the title of the book, but I wasn't planning to share this. It really spoke to the value of having a personal story. We all have a personal story. We're either given that story when we're young and we live that story out, or we create our story as we grow. And oftentimes when we're given a story and we stick to that story, when something happens in our life, when an experience happens in our life outside of what our story can handle, we tend to ignore, or we tend to just kind of pretend that that didn't exist. Or we blame it on something like, magic. That's a whole nother topic, but something that is inexplicable. Yet, when we write our own story, the wisdom grows, because every time something happens in our life that isn't explained by our story, or doesn't make sense, or leaves us confused, lost, perhaps even traumatized or confused, we're almost forced to go back and rewrite a new reality. And I do believe we're in a constant process of rewriting our reality. And that's the inspiration here, is that we can continually broaden our stories to include and make more sense, even allowing no sense to be made of what's happening in our lives, but really how we can approach it and live according to it or with it. This will make sense as I go. But writing a story and rewriting the story comes from shifting our perspective and opening up a dialogue. And that's what I invite here in this space. There is a lot to share. I have a really broad background. There are a few cornerstones that I absolutely love, and that right now in my life, the life I'm building is founded on a few of these cornerstones. But in general, you're going to notice I do believe in a realm of possibility. I do live in a realm of where we're capable of so much, this human potential, that we are capable of living way beyond what we can vision, and to live in a space beyond what our mind can think of, beyond what we can even vision, that there is something even, it's not just more, it's just beyond. In other words, our mind can be such a limiting container as much as a directing container. So it can bring us places, but it can also limit us. So these cornerstones are definitely, as I'm speaking to, the human potential. The human potential is way beyond what I see us living. I don't even know what it is, but I know where I'm living now I wouldn't have thought of 10 years ago. And I love that. And I think that's really the case for a lot of us. So what took me there are some of these other principles: sovereignty. And what I mean by sovereignty isn't just a freedom from other things, but it's degree of ownership and truth to self. Obviously, we'll get into sovereignty. Integration, we all are having experiences all the time, but how well are they really integrated and woven into who we are, how we are, and live from that tapestry, whether we're adding a new color or a new diagram or a new picture, if you will. That's the rewriting of the story, adding in new threads, adding in new realities that can hold us and that we can then take somewhere else. Embodiment. Embodiment is a huge piece, because I've done a lot of work in the emotion realm, I've done a lot of work in the mental realm, but I've done a lot of work in the spiritual realm. A lot of us have, but I always believe that the physical body is really a portal. It's a place to really access all of the levels of our existence. And of course, we're going to see it real time. We can get ourselves to believe all sorts of things, but to be living in it means that it's right here in an embodied state. So embodiment is a big part of my process and what I want to bring back to it. So what does this look like? What does this look like? What are we going to talk about? I got a list here. All things human potential. All things human potential are going to come up here. Consciousness, human potential, emotional intelligence, somatics, different types of relating mentalities. So we've got health and food and nutrition and yoga and dance and working out. We've got homesteading and relationships, music, soulful expression, mysticism, integration. Integration I already mentioned. Group resonance or group coherence. Astrology, plant medicine, druids, art, religion, philosophies, all of the things. You're going to get to hear about all these different aspects of my life. So who am I in that? Well, let's find out. This is the reality. I love and I live in paradox. So one day I could be sitting here talking about something, and next week I could be talking about the exact opposite thing, or how what I did share I found isn't true. I love paradox, and I believe we are living paradoxes. Again, depends on what the paradox context is. But belief systems are belief systems. And they give shape to a reality. And reality can change overnight. And our reality is in part dependent on how we think and process these things. So of course, paradox is going to exist. Of course, differing realities are going to exist, because I don't necessarily believe, or no, I do believe, but I don't necessarily live in a place of duality. Of course I live in duality, but duality is often one or the other. Where a polarity is, we recognize two ends of a spectrum, but it's a spectrum. And paradox lets us live amongst that spectrum in any given moment. That can shift, and a different reality can be holding our perspective or needed to operate just through the day. And so you're going to see a lot of that paradox come up. And in that, I've always been a bit of a chameleon. I change, I adapt. And I think it is one of my greatest suits. And it's often left me and left others wondering, who am I? What am I about? And who I am shows up in any given situation relative to the situation, whether it be a person or the actual worldly situation that I'm going through. And I have a hard time getting put into a box. Maybe there's something there to heal. I don't really know. But there's something about putting a box around me that it just doesn't land. Now, sometimes I get a little emotional about it. I get a little fired up. That's when I know there's got to be something there. But on the other hand, it just doesn't align. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel accurate or whole. It doesn't really encompass all of me. And I think you may find the same is going to be for you. Paradox, the unknown, the unlearning. It is my hope that we can unplug, unlearn so much of what we learned. Not that it's bad, not that we throw the baby out with the bathwater, but as we open up these boxes of limitation, these boxes of living, we really begin to find an altered life. A life that is truly respected by ourselves, and one that really holds a promise for who we are beyond our thinking, beyond our visioning. And I'm going to come back to that over and over again, in part because I've struggled creating vision for much of my life. And I recognize that creating a vision can open us up into greater visions beyond what we initially visioned. And there's real truth to that. It was always a hard place for me to begin, because the moment I thought of one thing, something new would begin to emerge, which would be the fourth principle, emergence, surrender. And my life is very based on surrender. It's very emergent. It's very alive in the moment. And I'm very much in this radical acceptance, or I would even say this somatic acceptance to life. And oftentimes I enjoy it. Sometimes I hate it, but there is reality happening, even though I question what that reality is at a given time. You'll see more as the topics begin to arise and emerge. So like I said, it's a non-dual format. Bring up the conversation, bring up the points. Let's learn, let's grow together. Let's do this as a whole. Bring yourself as I am bringing myself. That would be fun. I enjoy that. I invite that. I am looking for the win-win. So it's not necessarily you're right, I'm wrong. I'm right, you're wrong. Again, that context can work in certain ways, but there's really something beyond it that I think can move us. What's the point of being right or wrong? Where does it move us? A stalemate conversation is no fun. Let's bring in conversations and somatic conversations that move us in ways that are different, that let us try and experience something new. Radical acceptance, challenge my ideas, not me. and let's have some fun. So again, happy Yule. Welcome to An Altered Life with me, Thomas Radke. And I look forward to sharing. I look forward to the vulnerability and the intimacy that can arise from this. I look forward to breaking some of my own patterns of not sharing and keeping silent. And I look forward to recognizing more of who I am as I share. Because I share all this right now, and next week I'd be like, you know, that's all BS. I'm actually really defined this way, and this way. And I actually am really defined in certain meta concepts. Yet I hope to break that all down, which is what I love about Yule, is that we go into the darkness and we get to disassemble and take things apart. We get to face what we don't want to face. We get to face fears. We get to look at our dark side, but maybe not judge it as bad. Dark in a lot of ancient traditions is looked at as what is still in our subconscious, what is simply just unknown. And if we put light on anything that is unknown and we befriend it and we feed it, beauty often emerges. Even in the most ugly aspects of our life, we love it. We put light on it. Putting light on it just means give it attention. Love it. Accept it for where it has taken us, what has been there. Step into that dark, not run from it. Welcome it and love a little bit more. Yeah. Thank you for joining me today. Have a brilliant Yule. Until we see you next.